Good afternoon, this is Giles Edwards with 366 Weird Movies, and I am sitting with a number of the fellows behind the Lake Michigan Monster.
I am Ryland Brickson Cole Tews. I am the writer, director, and Captain Seafield.
I'm Mike Cheslik. I'm a producer in the film, and I'm the editor and VFX artist.
I'm Schultz, the executive producer, and made sure we had the music to go with the movie.
I'm Daniel Long, and I play Dick Flynn. Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you all for getting together here, and congratulations on having completed that project you did on a whim, I believe.
Yep.
Yep.
Just gathered my friends and family together and said, "Hey, let's make a monster movie." Because why the hell not?
Yeah, this was a really small project that Ryland basically funded with pizza delivery tip money in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Are they big tippers there, or was this just a lot of delivery?
It was a lot of delivering, but I delivered in a nice neighborhood, more or less. So sometimes you'd go to some nice houses, get some bigger tips.
That's where we all grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, knowing these guys, since elementary school, kind of, and Ryland and I have been making movies together for a long time, and luckily we have our first feature under our belts.
Yeah.
Grateful that Ryland started writing and directing it in Milwaukee without, nobody really gave him permission or asked him to do it.
Oh, okay, yeah, and obviously, it's sold to just about a packed house at a sort of odd time slot, so, that's definitely a good sign for that. Mm-hmm. My first heavy-hitting question here is there's a little bit in the film where you're talking about whiskey and bourbon versus the Scottish variant of bourbon. Have you ever had Canadian whiskey, and if so, do you regret it?
It's in the party whiskey category, right? Next to Irish whiskey?
I don't think the Irish would appreciate that, but...
I have had it, and I can't say I'm a fan, but like any alcohol, the more you drink it, the more it becomes tolerable. And so all I can say is I think we should line them up right here, right now, and take some shots.
Oh, it is past 2, so... Perfect. Other thing you address in the movie is there's this monster, not a sea monster, obviously, but a lake monster. Was there any particular reason for a monster movie comedy as opposed to something else?
It was just that the monster. I'm not a big monster movie buff or anything, but I just thought it was something that we could do with a low budget. We could still make a somewhat good-looking monster or somewhat spooky kind of premise based around a monster for no money essentially, and so that's really where it came from. And I don't know, the monster idea was just it's something people can always be looking forward to throughout the movie. When's this monster? We're going to show up. This is going to be crazy. So, if I was just making a straight up comedy, it would just, I don't know, it would turn out. The subject matter, I think, wouldn't have been as strong or as interesting. So that's kind of where the monster idea came from. And it's a lake monster because the Lake Michigan, it's just sitting there, and you can just go down with the camera and just start shooting stuff. No one's going to bother you or stop you. So it's all right, we'll put the monster in the lake, and boom, you got yourself a movie. So
yeah. I think, geographically speaking, had we lived next to a desert or a mountain, we would have had a mountainous monster or a desert mirage, maybe. Yeah. But the fact is, we're next to a lake, so we had to have a sea monster.
Yeah, all the decisions in the movie are based on available resources.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The sets, especially.
Yep, the sets, the locations. I know someone who can write a song. Then let's have a theme song for the movie. I know we can get into this place. We can get on top of or we could get into the ferry. There's a ferry that goes from Milwaukee to Michigan, and the guy who plays Sean Shaughnessy, Eric West, is actually a first mate on that ferry for Lake Express. So it's hey, Eric, we got to shoot some stuff on your ferry. And he's like, what? No, you can't do that. He's like, no. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll just come by at 2 in the morning when you guys are, closing up shop, and you can just, you can get us on, right? And he's like, well, okay, sure, but is this going to take very long? No, we just got to get a few shots. So it's stuff like that where just having access to places and knowing people, and that's how we base the movie.
And now, you mentioned that you've known each other for quite some time. When did any of you do the first short film, I'm guessing, movie, home movie, whatever that you care to mention? How far back are you reaching for that memory?
Well, in high school, Ryland and I were hired by the principal of our high school. It was a public school, and they didn't have a real plan for marketing the school against these private schools, and so they gave us just a little bit of money to make a promotional film, and that got Ryland and I working together. And at the parents' night where the high school film was shown, we got all these laughs, which was sort of addictive, and so we're like, we got to make some more of these movies, get these laughs. It just feels really good to work on a joke and make it precise and put a lot of time into it, and then have a reaction with a crowd. So since then, we've made a bunch of movies.
Yeah, so that was like kind of our big. That's when we
your big break. So
and we kind of we realized, well, in a sense, I mean, but that's really like when we realized, I guess we're pretty good at this. Let's just try to keep doing this. But I will say, one of the first, if not the first movie, though, wasn't with Mike and I. It was with Mike and Ryan Lewis over here. WD-40, where actually you're the star, Lou.
Oh, one of the co-stars.
How old were you when you guys did that?
I think that would have been 5th or 6th grade. We were very young.
Yeah, we were children. Yeah. And if you look at it now, there's children in it.
Yeah.
Funny how that can work out that way. Okay, so that's a start. There was an odd, I wouldn't say it was a serious segue, but the issue regarding the egg in the movie, there was I guess you could say lightly touching on abortion issues a little bit, which obviously I wasn't expecting it, and I think it was handled very deftly, but I was wondering what prompted the inclusion of that, the protectiveness of the egg, it being his child and his choice, and the monsters.
That's a Daniel question for sure.
Is it? Well, look, I mean, Dick Flynn, Papa Dick, as he's referred to in the movie by Ryland. It's just he loves his egg, and he wanted to nurture it and take care of it, and I think it was, in his eyes, wrongfully taken away from him. Dick Flynn, he's kind of a swashbuckling castaway.
The abortion issue is interesting when you get to eggs, because the egg is no longer in the body.
Yeah.
It is external property.
What is an egg defined as? Is it a fetus? Is it, what is,
I think it's just an egg.
Yeah, I'm unaware socially.
We're saying a separate egg, not an ovum.
Right.
We're saying a bird's egg. It's not inside.
Yeah. We should switch topics to National Geographic stuff. But I think in Dick's eyes, maybe he sees the egg as a little redemptive arc that never comes to fruition for him.
Mm-hmm.
So
because that's the thing. He knows he's not a great guy.
Yes.
He's a dick. And
he is. Oh,
but in the movie, he's saying why did you do this? Why did you do that to the egg? I would make a great dad.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It's funny that it's we're dealing with this monster thing, but then once that egg enters into Dick's life, all of a sudden things become a little bit more complicated.
You do get that dream sequence where he is even holding the egg like a baby, and that's all you get to see, and it never really.
There's a lot to unpack politically in this movie, for sure.
Well, that's what we were secretly going for. Yeah, people don't know this. I'm glad we're finally getting down to it.
Well, speaking of political issues, that does actually bring me to my next question, which we had discussed earlier. The finale, the big showdown thing. One of the topics explored there, right at the end, as the sort of trick that Captain Seafaring realizes that the monster is trying to pull a fast one on him. You talk about municipal liquor legislation.
Yes.
Now, I'm sort of curious. Obviously, there are any number of things to be said for or against that, or why it exists. Was that gotcha finale? How early had you settled on that being kind of the climax mentally?
That was something that came along later on.
Very late.
Yeah, and so, but once Mike and I were discussing the ending and how we should do it, just a big we really want to end this thing with a bang. And so once we kind of came up with that idea for the ending, we're like, oh, well, we have to do this.
Oh,
this is so absurd and funny. We have to do this. So.
I forgot about this, but when we thought of it, and I don't want to toot our own horn here, but we were dying when we thought of that. So we were like, it has to just be included.
Yeah.
I don't know. The design of it isn't even so intentional. It's just that we were killing ourselves thinking of that little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 75 minutes of the movie is not very clever or good, but that ending is, I can say that I'm very proud of that. And, and audiences always react to that. We get a big laugh, so it's very fulfilling.
And just politely talking about, politely dancing around, legislation like that seems like a very Midwest thing, to just be like, oh, yeah, well, maybe they know what they're doing, maybe they don't, and, not coming down on it very hard and just having it be more chit-chatty. I think it's so funny.
Yeah.
Especially where it comes in the movie at, the height of and then it's like, well, wait, let's bring it back down to some actual value questions.
Yeah.
One of the characters is weapons specialist, as that is official designation in the team of the century.
Weapons expert.
Excuse
yes.
me. Obviously, there are a lot of weapon props, and so I was sort of curious about the prop choices for that, particularly the primary weapon and the logic behind that.
Yes.
Again, it's all about who you know and what you have available to you. And Eric was my friend living in town, so I got him to be in my movie. And I said, well, Eric has a lot of weapons of his own. I'll just make his character a weapons expert, and we'll get all his various weapons in the movie. And then on top of that, the sword on the front, on the poster, was it was actually just Daniel's cousin, Nick Johnson, who has this giant sword for some reason.
He's a sword collector. He has William Wallace's sword from Braveheart. He has the Gladiator sword, Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he has this mythic sword that we use frequently, actually.
We used it in another movie before this.
Yeah, we did. But it's stuck around. It has its staying power for sure.
Yeah, it just has such a good look to it. And it's so ridiculously huge. So it's funny in that regard. But yeah, and then all those weapons you see in the movie, those are just all Eric's personal weapons that he owns.
It's so funny getting that footage, just being like, oh, you guys had a huge assault rifle in the public beach. Nice. I bet you didn't get permission for that, did you?
No, sir.
Now, you said that sound was what you were up to. Was that also musically, or just the overall sound design?
Well, we had a professional person do the post sound, so I helped push that along to get someone who we actually trust, making this movie sound good in a theater and wherever you're watching it. I was very hands-off as an executive producer.
But it was so great, though, because Ryan swooped in, or Lewis swooped in and helped us in our time of need when we were deep into post-production. And but he had seen some of the movie, and he decided this was worth kind of investing in. And, he basically financed all the music you hear, the DeWolf music, all the old.
Yeah, we should talk about DeWolf.
Yeah, but Ryan swooped in and footed that bill for us. So without Ryan, the movie
is silent.
It's silent. Yeah,
DeWolf is a cool library. They've been around for over 100 years. I originally heard their name because the Shaw Brothers would purchase DeWolf music for those films, and for some of them. And they're still a company. You can still license from them, just like APM or any other licensing company, but they have these awesome old recordings with real instruments and that were used in B movies in the 50s. And more like crime movies, but I think they fit a horror thing as well.
Oh yeah, definitely a soundtrack. There were at least two original numbers in that? A couple of, because I believe the captain had two different ballads, because there was the one in the credits and then there was one his brother played on the keyboard, or were those the same?
Yeah, there's the one the one where I start to sing and then I get cut off, and then there's the one at the end that is, he's on the beach playing the piano, but that's then part of the actual bigger song,
the theme song,
theme song basically, in the end credits, and that was just who plays my brother in the film, Ashcroft, is actually my dad in real life, and he's a musician and has been for years. So he just got his buddies together and wrote a completely original song.
He wrote 100 verses.
Yeah, and of course, we had to cut that down a little bit.
I mean, a good sea shanty can never be too long. So is there a full version?
There is a full version,
7 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 6 or 7 minutes. We even had to cut that down for the end credits because the end credits are only like 2.5 minutes. So, but yeah, those are original music from Wayne.
And then a friend of mine, Chris Ryan, a very, very talented professional composer for like real movies, came in and did this 2-minute segment for us where Ryland's character begins a musical number, which he filmed without a plan for the music exactly, but just with some lyrics that you made up. And then I gave that singing to Chris and said, "Can you like reverse engineer a like musical orchestration behind these like lyrics Ryland's making up?" And like he's like, "Oh yeah, for sure, no problem." And I was thinking it would be totally impossible. And then 3 days later, he just like sends the perfect like backup to like Ryland's.
It can be sickening how some people have too much talent. If you ask me, it's good. It's good to have that. Oh, it's great. And I guess for my I'll make this my final hard-hitting question. I like to ask it of everyone that I sit down with. What's your hometown, and can you recommend your favorite restaurant?
Daniel, you want to start?
No, I don't.
Well, if you go to the hottest nightclub in Milwaukee, you may recognize the bouncer from our film.
Well, so I work in Milwaukee nightlife, so I am actually...
Another good movie title.
yeah, that's years away, but it's written down. So I do go out to eat a lot, and I would say in Milwaukee, the most famous steakhouse is 5 O'Clock Steakhouse.
That's what I was going to say.
You
ass.
Well, yeah, that's my nickname. But yeah, that's 5 O'Clock Steakhouse.
I'll give my Milwaukee recommendation too, even though now I'm based out of the Twin Cities.
Hometown, though. Milwaukee.
Hometown, yeah.
Whatever you consider your hometown to be. So.
Well, I assume if you're coming to Milwaukee, you want to try the Milwaukee staple. So I'd say go get some custard. Go get a nice big buttery burger from Cops Frozen Custard.
Yeah.
That is a mainstay where they used to film some scenes with the Fonz. It doesn't look like it anymore. They redid the building, but it's, as Milwaukee as you can get. And, you might be incapacitated for a while after reading all that, but sit down and watch a good movie then.
I would say go to Lakefront Brewery, do the tour. It's like 20 minutes and you get like, I think 19 drinks during that time. And they have the best cheese curds and sometimes polka music.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say Lakefront Brewery and Von Trier's.
Yes, Von Trier's a wonderful bar, and they got food there. Yeah, and then I could just say Mater's, German restaurant downtown. It's been there forever. Just really traditional German food and stuff, but it's really cool and fancy inside too. It's like a 5 O'Clock Steakhouse too. It's like such a quintessential, like awesome, like 60s, like kind of supper club,
it's
like
cozy.
loungy kind of. And Mater's is just like very German. It's like the most German building you'll ever walk in.
Stained glass.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you all very much for having this conversation, and obviously I wish you the best of luck in nightlife, sound production, whatever it is you do, and obviously filmmaking. So thank you again.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for having us.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.